Hello, happy Friday. Welcome to another edition of New Earth Chats. Today I am very excited. I'm going to be going live with Renee, and we are going to be discussing expanding your consciousness. If this is your first time tuning in to a New Earth Chat, well, this is where I like to interview other trailblazers and leaders in this new earth, in this new paradigm. We like to dive in. We like to have juicy conversations. We've already had two incredible conversations. If you haven't yet, go check them out. But for now, I'm excited to dive in. I'm sure we're going to dabble into spiritual awakening, what it means to ascend into different levels of consciousness. There's so much that we can dive into with this. So I'm just going to wait for Renee to join in. If you're here watching us live, say hi. Don't be shy. I think it's really important that we actually connect and kind of dissolve this bridge between technology, reminding you that we are people on the other side of the screen. So say hi if you're watching the replay. Don't be shy as well. Say hello. I'm going to just wait for Renee to get in here so she can join us. Fun fact, we tried to do this yesterday and we trust in divine timing. I guess we were just meant to have this conversation today. So let's wait for Renee to get in the door. This is always the part where I'm like, awkward pause. There she is. All right, we're going to get Renee in here. I think it's loading. Juliana says hi. Hello, hello. Why isn't it working? I'm going to try again. Oh, there's mosquitoes. Amazon problems. Okay, is it working? Why is it saying you're unable to join? What is happening?
Yay!
There we go.
We did it!
We got it.
Beautiful.
Hello, hello. Welcome.
How are you?
I'm good. It's Friday. It's raining. It's like the perfect day. After this, I'm gonna just chill and watch.
I love that.
How are you
I think
doing?
I'm gonna take a nap, do a little bit of work. I was gonna get a massage. I think if Sunday, I'm moving it to Sunday though. So yeah, I've been good. Been tired. Lots of things are shifting, integrating, and it's fun. It's exhausting, and all the things. Yeah. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited for the newer chat. I was just kind of everyone that we're going to be talking about consciousness today, and I was really excited when you, brought up this subject to conversation because I think there's a lot of room for us to play and tell stories. I feel like we're gonna have such a good time. But can you introduce everyone first so they know who you are, what
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
do, what your magic is?
So my name is Renee. I'm originally from Australia. I left about 11 months ago now, and I have been traveling Latin America. So I've been living in Mexico. Now I'm in Colombia. I'll be leaving Colombia soon. I'll be going to Argentina next. So I'll be way closer to Brazil, which is very exciting. It's been something it's a dream of mine to go all over. I am a subconscious mind coach. I love working with the subconscious, more so the body, the energy, not just mindset, because that's only one part of the piece. It's funny, Regina, because I was thinking about when I had my first awakening, and it's so full circle because I was watching your videos at the time of when I was awakening, and you were filming those videos, and I told you that, and so for us to be doing this collaboration today is really, really such a full circle moment. It was something really, really cool and really beautiful. And I started on my journey because I grew up I grew up in Asia, and I would get beaten by my teachers, by my parents, and so I grew up with a lot of escaping and numbing and not understanding why I couldn't cry or why I felt so much shame, and just there was a whole lot of things that I had to process, and so that obviously led down to drinking, partying, nonstop, escape my country, etc., etc. And when I realized that I wasn't fated to be a failure, or I'm not fated to be average, I'm not fated to have a very like challenging life, that I could actually change things, was understanding that it first came from the subconscious. And the most magical, transformative, powerful things has happened by working there first, rather than any other strategy or any other type of, I would say, modality maybe. That for me personally, in my experience, that I have seen really fast and really crazy changes happen. And I'm talking about like really bad. And so, for example, when the first moment that I really saw this change using the subconscious was when I had really bad hay fever and cat allergies. So I would sneeze 14 times in a row. Like it was so painful, you know, when you sneeze so many times. And then understanding that that came from a traumatic event, a memory that I had repressed in my subconscious. Within 20 minutes, I was like, okay, I need to test this out. So I left my house. I went to go pick up a cat because my ex-boyfriend had a cat. That's why I wanted to change it. I wanted to get rid of these cat allergies because I couldn't sleep at his house. And so going to his house that night, for example, and just picking up the cat and like playing with it, I was like, this is incredible. This is something that it's opening up my eyes, and I truly believe in this work, where I used to think I was skeptical of it. And so now I really help my clients in rewiring their brain and their body and aligning them to their goals, releasing shame, releasing guilt from the body. Really, my gifts are around envisioning their future for them, and then also realizing them in a very, very fast and a short period of time, right?
I love this story. There's like so many little things that we can like pick up on that. There's one I think I want to start with, where you your story of like trauma and of, you know, emotional mental abuse that you went through, and that really being something that led you to have a certain response or understanding of the world. And then as you started awakening into consciousness, that's where you began, right? It's like peeling off those layers, looking at those stories. And I think that brings up this point of how a limited consciousness, how a small consciousness, we could say, like, the way I'm seeing it right now is consciousness is really a spectrum. I think that first layer is you really visiting and having the courage to look at the pain and the trauma. Like, would you say that it required a lot of courage of willing it? Because
Yeah,
it's fucking painful.
you know, I always say it's a lifelong journey. It's like things just kind of got bad, and I was gaining a lot of weight, and I was in a country all by myself in the pandemic, and I was like, oh, I need to do something about it. I just made a decision, really. And you're right, it is that spectrum of consciousness that when we, for example, like if we're talking about consciousness right now, someone maybe on this live watching may not really resonate with what we're saying, or the terminology that we're using. And I could totally get that, because I was one time at a place like that, and I would watch all these documentaries about spirituality, and I'm like, I wanted to be somewhere that I wasn't, and it wasn't landing for me, it wasn't resonating. And now that I watch it, I'm like, oh my god, and I'm just mind blown, and it's like giving me chills all over. It's the exact same documentary. And so I think it's so fascinating, like, especially now that I'm just constantly going inwards. It's almost like, yes, it can be painful, but my perspective on the pain is like, this is great. I'm grateful for this pain. It's different. I'm not sure what it's like for you.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of I've actually never read it, but just through what people have spoken about it,
Oh, I
there's a book called
just
Existential
finished it.
Kink.
I
So it's
just
almost like you
finished
found,
it.
yeah, okay. But that's exactly what you're saying, right? It's like actually finding the joy and the pain in this. I mean, you read it, you probably know better than I, but is that like
So
kind of what you're alluding
yes and
to?
no. What I'm saying is like more of that acceptance and gratitude. In existential kink, it's like getting off on it, orgasming it from it. It's like finding the absolute pleasure in the bad things. So,
Yeah, but so there's like acceptance piece, which is really what you're saying here. And I think that's definitely key because otherwise we stay stuck in these like victim mentalities. And then that just keeps us in the loops of lower consciousness, right? And I thought it was interesting that you said that you would be watching these documentaries and then it wouldn't really resonate until you were at the consciousness level in which you could actually receive what you needed to receive from it. So it's like, as you're saying, oh, that as we're navigating the journey in the inner world, it's changing our relationship to ourselves, but also to the world around us, right? And then from there, opening up our level of understanding and perspective. And that is why those things actually make sense because there's space. Like I'm seeing it now, there's space for you to actually receive it. Whereas when you watched it before, and I definitely with this too, like when have you
yeah,
read the book Untethered Soul
yeah,
or heard of it? Okay, classic, right? Like it's classic
absolutely,
for gaining like. I feel like I read it like 5 years ago. If I read it now, I would understand
absolutely.
it from a completely different perspective.
Absolutely. And it, like Untold Soul is one of my favorite books and Letting Go is one of my favorite books as well of all time. And it I think if I reread it right now, and I wanted to ask you as well, Regina, like what is your perspective or your journey in the sense of raising your consciousness or what's your journey been like? Because mine has been different. Like my obviously it's my own experience, but I'm so curious to know yours.
Yeah, thanks for asking that. It's been definitely a journey. I would say it
Mhm.
started with meditation because as you know a lot with plant medicine now, but you don't need medicine, right, to access these higher levels of consciousness. They're just kind of like a shortcut, right? But for me, what really started shifting my entire understanding of the world and expanding my understanding so that I could actually not just understand it, but like truly understand it from embodied perspective that like we are all one, like what is all of this? This is the matrix, like we're
Yeah.
the creator of our own reality. Yeah, I started getting like 60 minutes a day and coming in the present moment. And that's why I love Toll or Tollies. I don't know how anyone pronounces it. I've seen it all over the place, pronunciations, but the power of now, that was a
Yeah.
really big
Yes, I read the book
consciousness
that time as
like
well during my fest.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, so it's like really coming back to the moment. Like that has been where you actually lose identity even of yourself. It's like the one that we talk about that happens first through meditation before medicine and that. And then after I feel like plant medicine started getting introduced through magic mushrooms and then ayahuasca, it's like a completely different understanding because then you're receiving wisdom from the spirit of the plant. And that's like a whole another bridge. Have you dabbled with plant medicine? I actually
Oh,
don't think we've ever
absolutely.
talked about that. I don't even
I
know.
have really been not ayahuasca, but with psychedelics and mushrooms and changa. I've been recently actually. So when I went to, I had an Airbnb about a week ago. I booked one in the mountains in Medellin because I felt really called to do like a hero dose. And it's been something felt called to do for a while. So it was more, okay, I'll go do a ceremony by myself. And I had the most perfect tree house overlooking the entire city. And it was the most profound moment of my life. It was so profound because they were stronger in the psilocybin, in the dosage of the psilocybin. Um, that it allowed me to really see what it was like to not have any sort of programming, you know, like a baby.
Mm, hmm. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, you feel fresh like a newborn baby, and then you come out of it, and you're like, damn it. Now it's like heavy beliefs and program. But when you're on the medicine, it's so clear. Like I've had definitely several mushroom experiences where I'm like, I get what abundance is. Like it's taking me back. I had a trip with my one of my best friends, Janelle, and we were just like, I get it. Like we're innately abundant. And it like makes sense come out of it.
No,
And you're
no,
like,
no. Yeah.
oh no, I gotta deal with that reality. So I feel like okay, here's a question, and there's no right or wrong, it just is coming through. Do you feel like expanding your consciousness is an easy thing to do or is a challenging thing to
It's
do?
challenging for those that are not ready to receive it. It's like you're not
Mm,
actively, oh, you don't even need to be active in the process. It's more so, are you open to it? I think that
mm,
it's a journey, right, in itself. You can fast track it with medicine, and you can go. I mean, I personally don't feel like, for example, if someone wants to do ayahuasca, there's a lot of people that come here to do it, and I've heard that you should be invited, like the plant would be calling out to you rather than you actively making it happen. And so I'm still on that path of, right, I don't want to push it, I'm not going to force it, I'm just going to wait for it to be invited into my life. And so just like being called to do mushrooms, I wouldn't recommend anyone doing it for the sake of doing it, but more so when they feel called to do it. Because I think a lot of people, they're like, I just want to be healed now. I hear all these great things about it, and they kind of force the process. And I can completely understand that.
mm,
Um, and so expanding consciousness for me it's been a journey. And I suppose being in business is, is such a expander itself, right? It's such a spiritual journey itself. I'm sure you know that. Like, I feel like being on this entrepreneurial journey, it's expanded my consciousness itself. I wouldn't know what it would be like if I was still in Australia in the cold with the same amount of people, not having this easy access to psychedelics, which has really helped me along my journey to be more connected, more grounded, more connected to spirit. And I think that has also fast tracked my success. But I felt called to go to South America. I felt called to go to Latin America. Like, it was such a burning desire, a fire that I wanted to do for a long time. And so, would it be a challenge? It's not a challenge. I think you just gotta let it come to you. Like, not come to you, but you gotta allow the journey to happen
mhm,
for you. But the first step might be that challenge.
mm, mm. Yeah, I love how you keep saying like whether it's plant medicine or the journey, it calls you. And so to me, it's like it's challenging in the fact of are you actually willing to listen and then follow the nudge? Because I'm sure it wasn't necessarily like the easiest to pack up and leave and change your entire life. Like I know for me, it's always brought up you're the unknown and this and logistics, but there's like that trust, that surrender that you have in order to follow the calling. And I this actually makes sense. Right? People who kind of stuck in the consciousness, they stay stuck. It's because they're not following the nudges. Maybe they hear it, but they're not doing
Yeah,
about it. I don't know. Is
absolutely.
this
It's like
resonating?
for example, we're so stuck. We can be so stuck in the 3D. We're going to be so stuck in this reality that we don't. We feel the nudges, but it's like it's too scary. The mind has kind of overpowered it for us to actually have some kind of courage to take that leap of faith, to follow what we want to do, or we just kind of like we waited out for so long until we were a little bit miserable, or we're doing all these things that we don't want to do. And so I was even watching this documentary about all the dimensions and how in the sixth dimension the angels and demons work together, that they're not one or the on one on each side. It's like it's like no good or bad. It's that duality of, okay, if you are on your path and an angel is like whispering to you and saying, you know, come on, like these are your nudges, like go here, and you're so focused on the 3D and you don't listen to it, so the angel has to go to the devil or the demon and and is like, okay, can you allow them to get back on their path? They're like, all good, got it. Car accident, someone dies, like, you know, bringing them back in their path. They're like, okay, I get it, universe, like, let me get back on my path. Like, this is like that huge change where, you know, when we hear people that tend to suffer, or when they have a big event that happens in their life, that's when they awaken, or they want to change. So in that sense, the bad things that happen in our life, or what we label as bad, and not actually bad, they're just, you know, redirection, or they're necessary. Otherwise we wouldn't know what light looked like.
So that's why then it makes how you, like, just what we were saying earlier, how you can find pleasure and acceptance even in the so-called bad things, like that story that exists. Oh, that it's all in a higher state of consciousness. It is still all serving you.
Exactly. And in the book, it's a concept that's quite out there, because what we've been conditioned to find disgusting, or like, or wrong or bad, yes, we inherently want that, and it's a concept that can be very hard to wrap one's head around. But in the book, she essentially talks about really accepting that dark feminine side, that darkness within, that we get off on. And my mentor actually recommended this book to me, and so she worked under the author, Dr. Carolyn, and just sharing that you can, if you write down all your fears every single day, you can become close to orgasm just from listing all your fears, accepting them, being like this full understanding that we actually always get what we want, and we are always getting pleasure. Like, we're not always getting pleasure out of it, but if we can see it that way, then it starts to dissolve itself anyway. And that in the collective consciousness, why is there the pain? Why is there war? Why is there children that are going hungry? Why is that, right? We can look at it and think, what, those children didn't get off on that pain. Like, that's weird to say that, but it's not from them, it's from the collective consciousness. Yeah.
Yeah, as you're saying this, right, it's like we're on that book, which I'm gonna have to read it, and it's bringing through of how, in order to expand consciousness, we need to receive from outside sources of consciousness. Like, as you're saying, I'm like, okay, it had me thinking about, right, like, just received all this from a book, and then this is registered, this new level of consciousness for you around this said topic, right? We talked about other books today, like this has been a running theme. Movies, documentaries, people, mentors, right? Why do all of this? Because we need people who are further along in the journey, higher, in a higher state of consciousness, in order to pass on those, like, codes, for lack of a term, in order to help us raise consciousness. And that's why I love the mentorship coaching industry, because that's what we're doing. Like I said, I'm like, we are actually helping expand the consciousness world. Because if we can even help expand one person's, right, then that's a ripple to X amount of people, so on and so forth. So I'm like, even at conversation, we're expanding people's consciousness. It's like so.
Absolutely. I also want to say, Regina, I don't know if your sound, just to make sure, because your sound goes in and out. So just make sure you know that.
I think
Pardon?
I've been tapping my little mic. It's
amazing. Okay. So yeah, like that ripple effect. It's just having this conversation now. It unlocks maybe someone that's watching and something that they've never really considered before. They it's because we're so in our perspective, we're so in our worldview, and then when we like for you and I who go and travel the world and we are completely outside of what used to be home, that is such a huge pattern interrupt, and that is such a I remember just leaving when I was in Mexico. I was like, oh my god, like what is happening? This Mexico is just it's crazy. And my eyes opened up to so many different concepts and ways of living. And right, there was the polyamory community there, and just a complete different way of what life is like and how other people live their life. And being in a city mostly all my life, it was just so cut out of that. We're so rigid in the rules of life and how it should be lived, and I couldn't imagine what it would be like to go home, and just I'm sure you recently went home, so it must have felt weird, or maybe it felt like they're still thinking the same way, or they're still kind of people are still behaving in this way, and you're just like, I've just gone through like 10 different lifetimes in the jungle and like did this and going through different dimensions, and and people are just kind of like, I'm still the same, I'm doing the same thing, and it's such a weird feeling, that I don't think they would understand. But even if you tried, especially like old friends, I don't think they definitely would not resonate. um, but yeah, I kind of forgot the question now. I don't remember what.
Well, I appreciate you're talking about traveling, a big expander. Everything you're saying, right? Like, yeah, you go back home and people are stuck in the same cycle. So that point of disrupting a pattern, like, it's like you see someone stuck in a cycle until you go and have some other kind of experience, and travel is such an easy way to expand your consciousness because it's completely different cultures, right? You're not more, which is teaching you, it's forcing you basically to create that internal safety. So play and experience this too, Renee. You're really hearing just, all right, I'm here. You're really present, which we know is also kind of as you're like tuned in. Like, I don't know about you, but there's been so many times where I've been like that, where just manifesting and creating all of these things that I would have never expected because I was in this of playing with consciousness. Has that happened to you too?
Sorry, can you say that again? Your voice is cutting out.
Oh no, what is going on? Hold on, I'm gonna turn my. I was saying, have you experienced that too while traveling? Just be present moment and like open to the unraveling of your
Yeah,
emotions.
the connection is interrupting. That's okay. It's just your sound though. Your video is working, but so okay.
Okay.
So your
Now,
question was like, have I experienced like while I was manifesting um my consciousness kind of shifting? Like, is that what you said? Yeah, I
no,
can.
can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Dang it, I'm mic working. I'm like, why? Because the battery is flashing red. I was saying, have you experienced that while traveling? Right, you're in a different state of, you said the pattern is interrupted. You're forced to find internal security, and so you're playing around. For me, I found when I'm traveling, things manifest like this. Adventures happen, magical things happen. I was just
Oh my
asking if that's
goodness,
you too.
absolutely.
I'm sure it has.
So I was working, it's crazy. Regina, I was working in an office 11 months ago, right? Like I was working in an office, and I created a vision board in October last year. So it's October this year. And it was full of images, like of beautiful blue water, of travel. And then when I left to Mexico, all these situations, these scenarios where I never actively, because I didn't plan Mexico, I didn't plan anything. I was like, I'm just going to leave and I'm going to go with the flow. I have a flight to come back after 7 months. I'm not going home. And I basically was guided to invited to going to all these places that were the exact photos on my vision board without any intention, without sorry, well, there's an intention there, but yeah, as in going out to make it happen, right? It was like it was just suddenly all happening for me. It was all so organic, and like you said, that when you're traveling, your manifestations are literally happening. And when I was in Mexico, the energy there is so potent that I would think of something and then it would happen. It was so cool. It was so cool. It's kind of slowed down now in Colombia, but that's, I'm in this period of my life and this transition at the moment, especially with my business, that I've just been nonstop on the computer. So that means I have to leave more, leave my house more.
I was gonna say it's probably stopped happening because you found some pattern you found yourself in. And that's like that's like a whole other conversation for another talk, but that's like routine versus pattern. And then sometimes the routine is beautiful, but then it takes us away from the magic, the mystical. So it's
Yeah,
like finding that balance.
absolutely, absolutely. Like more play, more. See, the thing is, like, I am in the city right now, so there is. I love this city because it's in the middle of a mountain jungle. There's so much nature everywhere, but it's still very much a city, and so I am missing that nature aspect right now because I was living on the beach for 6 months, and now it's city, and yeah, I'm missing nature a little bit. It's like I need the best of both worlds. But I mean, we have mountains, and last night I went to a women's circle in the mountains, which was so beautiful, so beautiful. So you do get the best of both worlds here. It's just a little bit more of an effort to go to the mountains for sure.
Mm-hmm. Like with that, right? Like craving nature. I think when we're on this journey, we always need nature because there's something like I picked up these codes in ayahuasca ceremonies. There's something about being around plant spirits that helps open our consciousness. It's the way in which we interact with God. That's why you see people like getting sick and kind of stuck if they're not around. So
Absolutely,
like you're craving that.
absolutely. And I'm curious to know, this question has popped up. Throughout your ayahuasca ceremonies, what has been the most profound uh, message or download that has come through for you, or experience? I would love to know your experiences.
Oh wow, this question, such a loaded question, but no, there's one time I basically this was the most profound experience I had. There have been many on there, like on the medicine, but there was one time where essentially I was taken back to like being a newborn, and I could understand what it was like to go from source energy into physical body and how uncomfortable it is, and like why newborns cry. Sometimes they're hungry, yes, but there's sometimes they just cry for the sake of it. It's because they're crying because of the discomfort to go from this like massive realm where you're energy and one with everything into the individual human experience. And so I literally, right, like I'm doing the best I can to experience this or to share this experience through words, but it was absolutely insane. I literally remembered being a newborn. It like took me to a memory of me feeling this energy of how uncomfortable it was and how I didn't want to come in. Like I didn't want to come in this human separated form. So good to be
Wow.
one. um, is very profound because from that moment forward, you know, the medicine gives you what you need. I think I needed that in order to just like remember why I'm here.
Wow,
You
that gave me chills because this week,
know?
one of my sessions with my clients, she actually went back to a memory when she was being birthed, like coming out, and
Mm,
feeling this sense of frustration and anger already, like not why is everyone looking at me? Why am I getting all this attention? And so shifting her perspective around that memory that came up for her as well, like coming out of the womb directly, which is really interesting.
Yeah. Well, they say the first trauma we experience is childbirth. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Like it makes sense though.
Like, we're already in.
Oh my gosh.
Well, listen, Renee, this has been such a good chat. I feel like we traveled into so many different elements of this, our own journeys, like what it means. I'm honestly gonna have to rewatch because I feel like we probably black out when we're sitting. But let me ask, if people want to know more about you and like work with you, how can they learn more? How can they find you? Like, any offerings
Yeah,
you want to
absolutely.
share?
So currently I am on Instagram, obviously. If you wanted to reach out if you have any questions, my DMs are always opened. I'm currently creating a 6-week container at this very stage where you can learn the actual modality of how I take my clients to rewire the subconscious, really going into their inner child, doing any of the alignment, brain body work to quantumly to manifest, for example. So that's really exciting. I'm going to have that coming up by the end of the month. So if anyone wanted to ask questions around that, my DMs are open. Right now, it's still in its pre-stages. So that is where I'm at. Otherwise, I have a website. It's also linked in my Instagram, but mainly Instagram is where you can find me.
Yes, go add Renee, my audience. Say hi if you want to work with her. It's very powerful. It's going to rewire your subconscious. Yeah, thank you for being here. We had to reschedule yesterday. You were like so flexible with it,
Thank you
and it
so
was
much, Regina.
incredible.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and I have my audience on here as well. Go follow Regina.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Come on over, babies. Have a good rest of your
I'll see you
Friday. I'll
soon.
see you soon.
Bye.